that was blind. It says this here. He said, Lord, I believe. Lord, I believe. And then he did something else. And he worshipped him. See, as a Christian, we believe. But then is it a full stop? And he worshipped him. When he realized who Jesus really was, when he realized that he was looking and listening to the Son of God, he worshipped him. And throughout the Gospels, when people realized his true identity, they could do nothing else but worship him. And Jesus accepted this worship because he knew exactly who he was. Do you worship him? If you believe in him, do you worship him? It's not something you need to be taught or something you read about or something you have to go to a conference about. If you know who he is, you will worship him and you will love him. Yes, we can get help and we can get advice, but you should worship him and cry out to him, you are Lord of all. You are the Son of God. In our reading tonight, we see the Son of God walking and talking with his disciples. And he had called these disciples way back in Mark chapter 3. And what was the purpose of these disciples? What was the reason for being called? We read this here. And he ordained 12 that they should be with him, and that he might send them forth to preach, to have power to heal sicknesses, and to cast out devils. What were the disciples to do? Well, they were going to preach, they were going to heal, and they were going to cast out devils. And that sounds fantastic. And we all maybe want to preach, and we want to maybe heal, and we want to be up at the front, and we want to be doing these things. But we've missed what a disciple is all about. Listen to it again. And he ordained 12 that they should be with him. That is a disciple. When you are with him, when you are listening to him, when you are talking to him, when you are spending time in his presence, that is a disciple. And then when you get to know him and he becomes so clear to you, then you can serve him and then you can do wonderful things for his glory. These disciples, the more time they spent with him, the clearer it became who he was. They were listening and they were watching. Their faith was becoming stronger and stronger, and their love was getting greater. And as he walked and talked with them, he asked them 2 questions, 2 simple questions. First question, who do men say that I am? Who do men say that I am? Jesus was interested in what the people thought of him. What are they saying about me? Who do they believe me to be? What do they think about me? What are they calling me? What are they whispering as I walk past? What are they discussing behind closed doors? What is the public opinion about me? Who do they say that I am? The disciples provided him with the feedback. This is what they answered. John the Baptist, but some say Elijah, and others one of the prophets. And this appears to be very, very positive feedback. They tell Jesus that the people generally believe that he is a prophet, one who points to and speaks for God. Men were acknowledging him to be a great man, equal to John the Baptist, Elijah, or other prophets. They were saying that he was good, but not the best. Great, but not the greatest. A prophet, but not the prophet. The servant of God, but not the Son of God. Remember the blind man? Jesus did not just point to God and speak for God like a prophet. He pointed to himself to be the Son of God. He spoke not just for God, but he spoke as God. And Jesus does not make any comments about their feedback, but then he asks them question number 2. But who do you say that I am? Never mind about them. What about you? This is to his disciples that he's talking to. Who do you say that I am? Peter appears to be their spokesman, and he cries out, you are the Christ. Or as the reading from last week in Matthew, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And yes, that was a confession of faith, but it was worship. Because when you worship Him, you tell Him who He is. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Peter knew that Jesus was not just good, but He was the best. He just wasn't great, but He was the greatest. He just wasn't a prophet, but He was the prophet. He just wasn't a servant of God, but Jesus was the Son of God. And then Jesus said something to them that was strange. He says this, then He strictly warned them that they should tell no one about Him. Peter, what you've said, you are the Christ. Don't be telling anybody about that. It was not the time yet for them to preach that Jesus was the Christ, the Son of the living God. But the question very quickly I want to try and answer tonight is, why is Jesus so concerned about what people think about Him? Why did He ask these two questions? Are these the questions of an insecure man concerned about the views of others? Are these the questions of a man imprisoned by the opinions of others? And sometimes that's the way we can be. We're so concerned about what others are saying about us. We're concerned about what their calling is and what's going on behind our backs. We become so paranoid. And we want to know what such and such is saying and what the other one's saying. And by the way, that shouldn't be going on in the house of the Lord. But we can become so paranoid about it. But this is not what Jesus Christ, this is not the reason why He asked these questions. We find the answer in the reason why John wrote his gospel. Listen to these words. And truly, Jesus did many other signs in the presence of His disciples, which are not written in this book. And listen to this. But these are written, that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you may have life through His name. John wrote the gospel that we might realize who Jesus is, that we would believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and in believing in Him, we would have this life, this abundant life, and this eternal life. Jesus is concerned about who men say that He is, because if they believe that He's just a good man, just a prophet, just a teacher, just an example, then they will not have life. They will not be saved, but they will be condemned. They will not be found, but they will be lost. They will not be in heaven, but they will be in hell. And for these reasons, Jesus still asks these two questions this very night. Whom do men say that I am? What's our feedback tonight? What do we hear in school and university? What do we hear in the workplace? What do they say about Jesus Christ? There's sometimes they say very negative things about Him. They say that He's a fake. They say that He's a myth. They say that He's a liar. People even think that little of Him that they even use His precious name as a swear word. Who do men say that He is tonight? But I'm sure you've also heard what appears to be positive comments. You hear people saying, He's one of many prophets. He's an inspiring example. He's a great moral teacher. He's a radical leader. And maybe tonight you say to yourself, I've nothing against Jesus. He's just